Chapter 11. The Plan. The sun rose majestically to the east, bathing the landscape with a golden yellow glow that turned the sky from its terrifying midnight black to a warm mixture of orange and red, until a cobalt blue flowed across the heavens from horizon to horizon. The terrifying night was finally over. As Game Night 999 watched the sunrise, he could hear a bustle of activity as the villagers started reassembling their village, replacing blocks in walls, patching together buildings that had fallen prey to the relentless wave of creepers. The mayor was at the heart of the activity, wanting his village in shape before the next sunset. He knew the mobs would be back. Quickly, let's get everything back into shape, the mayor yelled. Send out messages to the other villagers. We need to know how the others fared. Crafter walked up to Game Night, who was still looking to the east, lost in thought. What now? Crafter asked. This was just the beginning, but they'll be back, Game Night said softly, motioning Shawnee and the mayor to stand near. Erebus will return with more monsters, and he won't quit until he levels this village and all the rest in the server. This is a war of attrition, Shawnee added. He'll just keep chipping away at the villagers until they all fall. Fortifying the villagers was smart, but it's not the answer. Game Night thought for a minute. He could feel the answer in the back of his mind, but it was elusive, flitting between memories of battle and memories of his old life in the physical world. Suddenly, an image from playing with his three cats, Max, Baxter, and Shadow, popped into his head. He used to love taunting them with his dad's laser pointer, directing their red spot on the ground and making them chase it throughout the house, but his favourite game was trying to herd all three of them into tight spots, using the laser as bait. It was always challenging, but his greatest victory was getting all three of them to climb into an empty box simultaneously, the three felines hungry to catch the only thing that mattered to their furry little minds, that elusive red spot. That's what he needed here, bait. Okay, here's the plan, Game Night said, confidently, the solution now clear in his mind. First of all, we have to deny the mobs any victory. We can't let the villagers slowly get whittled down to nothing. Turning to the mayor, he continued, send out messages to all the villagers, find out which ones took the most damage and abandon them, distributing the NPCs to the other villagers, boosting their numbers. As villagers take damage, we move the people to stronger locations, keeping up the number of people in the surviving villages, so that they can mount a strong defense. The mayor looked to one of the villagers that had been listening nearby and nodded his head. Moving quickly, he ran to a cluster of other NPCs and relayed the plan, the group then heading to the tall stone tower, the minecart systems underground, their destination. The mayor then looked back to Game Night. It's started. It will be done. Good, Game Night said. We have to deny the mobs any victory, any XP. They have to be hungry, really hungry, for something to kill. But how will that help us? Shawnee asked. It will only make them fight harder. I don't see how this helps. You see, if we stop the mobs from killing anyone in the villages, then they will go crazy when they sense someone out in the open, Game Night explained. You mean like another user? Craft asked with a gravelly voice. Yes, but not just any user. Me. Game Night paused to let that sink in, then continued. I'll be the bait that will draw them away from the villages and to a place where we, the users, have the advantage. That's where the final battle for this server will take place. This sounds insane, Shawnee cried. You don't know what will happen if you get killed here on this server. That's right, Game Night agreed. But that's also true for the villagers as well. Life inside the Minecraft software is uncertain. We don't understand it, just like we don't understand life in the physical world. But we continue to live in our lives. Regardless, I've come to realize that life is a gift, whether physical or digital, and we have to protect this gift with any means at our disposal. And that means me luring the mobs, not just the ones near this village, but all the mobs on this server, into a trap that will destroy them all, forever. That is indeed a noble quest, Crafter said, as he put a blocky hand on Game Night's shoulder. But how will we do it? How will we destroy them when we get them all together? We'll do what we do best, Game Night 999 said proudly. We'll grief them. Shawnee smiled, understanding. Now here's what we'll do. Game Night pulled them into a tight circle and explained his plan, laying out the intricate pieces of the puzzle, hoping they would all fit together when the time came. Shawnee nodded when it came to his part in this deadly play, his mind already whirling with strategic ideas that would be lethal to the mobs, while Crafter and the mayor accepted their parts as well. Once he'd explained his plan, his three co-conspirators stepped back and nodded, each seeing the risk in what they were to do, but also seeing the possibility of victory if all went well. It's vital that the villagers hold out, Game Night said. We have to deny the mobs any XP so that they'll chase me across the landscape and into our trap. None can be left behind. The villagers will hold out, the mayor said staunchly. We'll see to that. Excellent, Game Night replied. Then let's get everything ready. I'll need supplies, weapons, and some new armor. Shawnee, you'll need lots of tools and food for everyone, after you find the place. Don't worry, Shawnee interrupted. I know what to do. You bring the monsters to me and I'll do the rest. Game Night 999 nodded to his friend, realizing how important his friendship was to him. It was a thing that seemed quite this rarity these days, but he knew Shawnee would before he knew it, Shawnee disappeared, a subtle popping sound filling the space where he had been standing, the headband on his ninja skin the last trace of him to fade away. He was gone. You have a stout friend there, Crafter said in a scratchy aged voice. Not everyone is blessed with such friendships. You must be a worthy friend yourself. Game Night looked at Crafter, a flash of anger flowing across his face. Was he mocking me? Was that sarcasm? Game Knight didn't have lots of friends. In fact, he had very few since most of the players he'd met on Minecraft either ended up as the victim of his griefing or trolling. His goal in the past had been to always play for himself and only himself, and he didn't worry about what other people needed. But now Game Knight could see the destructive nature of his past attitude, griefing other people's creations, destroying buildings, causing servers to lag out and crash. All of these things just served to push people away from him. It made others avoid him, and for good reason. Why should anyone trust me now? Would anyone even be there at the final battle to help, or would I have to face the hundreds of mobs alone? As would be justified, he sighed. Yes, Shawnee is a good friend, better than I deserve, Game Knight said in a serious tone. But enough talk, let's get ready. We are ready, Crafter said proudly. You'll have everything I need already? How is that possible? We haven't even moved. One of my abilities as the village crafter is to communicate with those in the cavern who are crafting for me. As we discussed the plan, I had them start making what I thought would be needed. Crafter reached out with a blocky arm and pointed to 3 NPCs running towards them, coming from the tall stone tower with its secret shaft. They ran up to Game Knight and started leaving objects on the ground. New iron armor, food, 2 stacks of torches, 3 iron picks, an iron shovel, an arrow, and a diamond sword. A diamond sword? Game Knight reached out quickly and grabbed the weapon, its icy blue surface almost glowing. Diamond, where did you find diamond? Game Knight asked. There are some diamonds about, not many, but some, Crafter explained. I had some of my villagers start various branch mines down near the bedrock. They've been mining while we talked. It's amazing how much can be mined while you have 15 villagers working at the same time. Is it enchanted? Game Knight asked, noticing the shimmering bluish-purple hue that seemed to dance across the blade and handle. Yes, Crafter replied, his scratchy voice resonating with pride. It has knockback 2 and sharpness 3. It should serve you well. Game Knight held it up to the sun and admired the razor-sharp edge, the enchanted weapon casting a warm cobalt blue glow on his face. Inspecting every inch of the sword, Game Knight scrutinized it carefully, a smile slowly spreading across his face. This was exactly what he needed. Looking at the other supplies he noticed that hovered near the ground, he noticed the single arrow. Picking it up, he held it before his eyes, confusion replacing the smile. Why only 1 arrow and no bow? A single arrow wouldn't be very useful unless you had a really special bow, Crafter said, a smile on his face causing his ancient brow to wrinkle upward. Give it to him. Digger came forward and stood directly in front of him, tension heavy in the air. Game Knight had caused the death of his NPC wife, a testament to the selfish, conceited attitude he'd had until getting pulled into this world. I still don't forgive you for what you did, Digger said with an angry voice. But today you saved our village, kept all the children and villagers safe from the mobs, saved my children. You did something that was not for you, was not self-centered, and not at the expense of others. Today you did something at your own expense by risking your life to save others, and this I can respect and appreciate. The villager reached into his inventory and pulled out a shimmering bow. You left this in our chest the first time you were here, when I griefed the village and caused the death of your wife, Game Knight said solemnly, his head lowered. Digger nodded, then held out the bow to the user that is not a user. Reaching out, Game Knight took it and held it up to his eyes, absorbing every aspect of the weapon, his punch 2, power 3, and infinity enchantment bow. The envy of all. I'd forgotten about this, Game Knight said, his voice filled with hope. My old bow, my old friend. Game Knight looked up at Digger and placed a hand on his shoulder. This bow may tip the scales, Digger. It may make the difference between success and disaster. Thank you. It wasn't something he was used to saying. The words felt strange in his mouth. Digger bowed his head. It looks like we have everything, Crafter said, his scratchy voice sounding like sandpaper scraping against rock. It's time for us to go. Us? Game Knight asked. What are you talking about? I'm going with you, Crafter said, his voice suddenly sounding clear. I'm seeing this through to the end. You can't, Game Knight complained, his voice growing louder. The most likely outcome here will be death, and you can't respawn like the users do. And you can? The old NPC asked, his voice resonating like a bell, confidence in their task and clarity in their purpose ringing clear. Nearby villagers could now hear what was being discussed and were drawing near, uncertainty painted on their faces. I don't know what will happen to me, Game Knight stated, but I do know what will happen to you if you're killed. I've lived a long life, probably longer than anyone else in this world. I've seen many things in my days, more sunrises than I can count, and the deaths of too many friends. Too many. Crafter was suddenly lost in thought, memories of the deceased haunting him for an instant. Now my time here is done. I must move on and name a new village crafter. Game Knight glared at Crafter, hoping the force of his will would make the old NPC back down, but no, Crafter only glared back, daring him to challenge his decision. I can't be responsible for this, Game Knight thought. Not another life. He could feel the weight of his responsibility starting to press down on him, crushing him like a mighty vice. The villagers now congregated around the two, all of them completely silent, eyes locked on the crafter and the user that is not a user. The tension between the two of them seemed to almost make the air shake with fear, the magnitude of what was happening clear to all. And then a small voice percolated up through the silent crowd. It belonged to the brave young girl who had first spoken to Game Knight a day ago, even though it seemed like an eternity had since passed. "I'll miss you, Crafter," she squeaked, her voice shaking with fear. "You've been good to me, and I'll never forget you. I'll always remember your fireworks," another voice said. "The yellow stars were always my favourite. Yes, and I remember. Thank you for farewell." The flood of goodbyes washed over them as the villager made the decision for the both of them. The NPCs shared with Crafter the small moments that he touched each and every life, done some small thing that eased someone's worries, made them smile, or saved a life. It was an affirmation of his existence, a confirmation of his value and worth in this electronic world, and to GameNight's surprise, he saw a square blocky tear flow down the old NPC's face, a smile rising up to meet the salty flow. The villagers all crowded in to touch Crafter one last time, then he moved back to their work, preparing the village for the next attack, likely coming in 2 days' time. "Digger, please stay," Crafter said, as he wiped the square tear from his face. Digger paused and turned around, confusion written on his face. Crafter approached the NPC and held out his own crafting bench, waiting for it to be accepted. Digger took an uncertain step forward, then another and another, until he was almost nose to nose with Crafter, his face showing confusion and fear, his wrinkled unibrow accentuating his uncertainty. "Digger, I choose you to lead the villagers in this area, to craft those tools and items that the users will need throughout this land," Crafter said, his voice rising in volume so that all in the village could hear. "I choose you to keep the electronic Minecraft machine that is Minecraft working smoothly and without lag. I name you Crafter." Pushing his crafting bench forward, he placed it into Digger's hands, the light brown box seeming to glow in the yellow sunlight. When the crafting bench was accepted, Digger's brown coat suddenly turned to dark black, a long grey stripe running down the centre, while Crafter's own coat faded to a forest green. And then it was done. The villagers all turned to look at their new crafter and nodded acceptance as they went back to work. The old crafter just sat smiling, a huge smile that stretched around his blocky face and curved up to meet his ears. "Now we can leave," Crafter said, as he wiped the last remnants of tears from his face. "Come, Game Knight, we have to find our final battle and save this world from destruction." "Oh, is that all we have to do?" Game Knight replied sarcastically. "Yep, that's all." And the two characters walked out of the village and into the unknown, Crafter humming a melodious tune as their path led them towards the final battle that they both could feel over the horizon. As they walked, they could hear the sounds of work, the digging and stacking of blocks, resetting of redstone pistons, and the crafting of new tools, all coming from behind the village's walls. None of the NPCs watched them recede into the distance, or they would have seen the tall, dark, red, lanky shape watching them from the shadows of the forest, a dance of purple particles floating about the creature, as its narrow white eyes glared at the pair with overwhelming hatred and a desire to kill. "I will have my revenge," Erebus screeched softly to himself, the anger in his voice making the trees want to lean away from the source of his such tremendous malice. He chuckled a maniacal laugh. "You can run, use that as not a user, but I will find you." And with that the Enderman chief chuckled again as he faded back into the shadows.